Welcome. I am so grateful to have you here today and to talk you through the session of sun care, as I'm a firm believer that sun care is a very big part of skin longevity and just in general, something that we don't have a lot of knowledge or resources about, or that we sometimes don't do why we do certain stuff. So it's my honor to give and guide you guys through some valuable knowledge to make informed based decisions for your clients in the clinic or just as a person at home that wants to work on your skin health and skin longevity. So, in this episode, you will learn more about how the sun may potentially affect your skin, what an SPF means, but as well how you can see different types of sunscreen and how to identify them, or as well know what is the best for you. As I'm a firm believer that skin longevity is not a one size fits all, and that for every age stage or moment, there are certain things and ingredients or products that could be better for you. So, before we actually start and head to that, to making the best decisions, let's start with the basics. And let's maybe start just where it all should start, and that's at the sun. So, with that said, is the sun that shiny warmth ball that is radiating a lot of happiness into our lives, as I'm born and raised in a country that I could tell from the people's moods when the sun was shining. It has a lot of benefits for us. However, as well, an overexposure can harm us when it comes to skin longevity. So, in that case, the sun has a lot of different rays and releases UV light. It releases infrared. Infrared is the heat that we can feel from the sun, but as well visible light. So the visible light is the spectrum of colors like blue, yellow, purple, light that we can see with the visible eye. However, I'm going to talk a little bit more about UV rays, as UV rays have a big aspect or a big component when it comes to sun care. And there is mainly, or there are three different UV wavelengths, and these are called UVA, UVB, and UVC. To start with UVC, UVC is the strongest or the most harmful one and is luckily blocked for us. The ozone layer in the sky blocks us from UVC, so this is something that does not penetrate onto Earth, luckily, as it would be really detrimental for us. However, UVA and UVB come onto Earth, and that's something that our skin absorbs. And UVA is the strongest one in that case. UVA radiation takes up of 95% of the UV radiation and penetrates this deepest. So UVA penetrates even through glass. So even when we think we're sitting inside and working inside, we still get UVA light. So it's always around, it's all year there. So the people that always say, "Oh, I only need to be worried about the sun when she's out or when it's summer." Well, you're kind of wrong because the sun or sun exposure is always there during the day. And indeed, it's the UVB that is a seasonal one or a seasonal changer. Some on different parts in the world where we have some seasons. The summer season has way stronger UVB than, for example, in winter. However, the closer you get to the equator, the more UVB you will always have. So always people tend to think as well that when we think about sun care, that we need to think about UVB or not burning, but there's so much more to it. Infrared and blue light can amplify as well the damage that has been done by UV. And so if I'm talking about UV, I mean the damage from UVA and UVB, as they both have different benefits and purposes. So first of all, what is the difference then between UVB and UVA, or what do they do, or what harm can they have on our skin? Is UVA, it's very simple. A stands for aging, or we could link it to aging. Is UVA rays contribute to wrinkles and premature skin aging. So, like I said before, it it has the longest wavelength, so it penetrates the deepest in our skin and even behind glass. So even right now, we are exposed to UVA, what would have a chronic impact when it comes to aging and premature aging and just skin wrinkles and density, elasticity of our skin. UVB stands for burning. So that's where people always think in the summer we need to protect ourselves because then we burn. Yes, indeed, in the summer you have more, or closer to the equator, you have more chances of burning as UVB works on that process, on the sunburn. So aging and burning, I think that will be very helpful to keep that in your mind, how the UV rays work. Um, as I said, burning, we all see burning of some people see burning in a glorified way, as like that is skin color is good and healthy. It is actually quite the opposite way though. As skin pigmentation, and we all have pigmentation as it's a metabolic process that defends ourselves against a lot of or too much UV rays. So what is it? It's skin pigmentation is called melanin, and it's a metabolic process under control of melanocytes. So in our body, we have melanocytes, and they signal, oh, we need to create more melanin in order to save or to help this person. So it's a biological response, like I said before, to UV rays. But not only to UV rays, it's also stimulated by hormones, cytokines, and growth factors. Melanocytes produce more melanin after sun exposures, which gives the sun, excuse me, which gives your skin a darker color. And however, like I said as well, it's a metabolic process. When that process starts, it's because there has been a trigger that occurred. So there's no such a thing as a safe tan, as it still means that your skin had an inflammation response or an inflammation trigger happening. So, warning. So, to actually compensate with something. So, there's no such a thing as a safe tan, as it's actually a scarring on your skin. So, tanning is a photoreaction mechanism due to overexposure to sunlight and triggers the inflammatory response. So, black skins or different types of skins. So, for example, a black skin has a way higher cell vital protection than, for example, Caucasian skins and Asian skins. So they have embodied in the cell mechanism already a way better defense than lighter skin types. However, they still can be triggered sometimes. And this is where we all need to know about as well, is about the what different skin types or phototypes are there, first of all, as all our skins need protection. And there's something called a Fitzpatrick skin phototype scale, and that actually puts all skin colors and skin tones into 6 categories. So you have phototype 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until 6. And this is actually how we decide um, what phototype you are. So maybe if you start to see the numbers or underneath, maybe you start to see, oh, maybe I'm a 4, I'm a 3, or I'm a 6, as you can see what's underneath it. So for example, a phototype 1 will always have freckles, will always burn, and will burn and peel, but will never get color. So they will always stay white. And those people are always seeing very red or really need to be cautious as their skin absorbs so much light for their cells. These people used to live more in darker places on Earth. So think about Norwegian or where it would be dark for a longer extent of time of periods. But however, globalization made that we're all everywhere. And but that has impact on our body and our skin. Phototype 2 and 3 are mainly like America, Canada, Europe, as you usually have freckles or might freckle. You'll burn or often burn, and on occasion or rarely you tan. So there's those people that tan on a season or just on a holiday, but they always burn first too, or would burn or try to trigger or provoke that photoreaction response. A phototype 4, what I would say is a little bit more Mediterranean, has a more olive undertone already. So they don't really freckle and they rarely burn, but when they tan, they get pigmented. So they get really dark when they would be overexposed to sunlight. So you can see that in different northern Africa countries, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern area uh, borders. You can see those people, and then as well we have as well phototypes 5 and 6, and these are darker and have way more protection against sunlight as they're more exposed or used to be more prone to a sun exposure. They rarely or never have freckles. They almost never burn. Doesn't mean that they still can burn, but they always will tan. And that doesn't mean that they have a lot of, if they have a lot of protection, that they don't have any harm or um, overexposure happening. So those people still can have an overexposure to UV light, but they always stand and they will never burn. In those phototypes as well is what we tend to see is, for example, darker skins have way less risk to skin cancers than the lighter types, as they're less burned or less have less that inflammation response going on. So in that case, if we want to protect, what is an SPF? So if we talk about sunscreen, we mainly talk about SPF. I showed the phototype or the Fitzpatrick scale first, and why I did so is this scale decides or is as well implemented and how fast you would burn. But like I said as well, everyone is different and every skin is different. It's good to test, to set a timer for yourself and to go outside and see or test until you actually get a little bit more red. For a lot of people, that's around, that can be between 5 to 10, 15, 20 minutes. To the lower numbers on the Fitzpatrick can be hours for the darker skin types. However, we all need a protection, and that protection is SPF, and so the name is sun protection factor. A very important part is an SPF works against UVB, so the burning, not the aging. So an SPF and the numbers. So you sometimes see in the store an SPF 20, a 15, a, a 50. But what is the difference? So the difference is actually the percentage in how the absorption of UVB happens. What is very important as well is the minutes that you sit outside and that you need to before you actually burn. This will help choose which sunscreen would be better for you. So if you burn very fast, it's maybe better to apply a 30, as this will protect you a little bit better. However, every sunscreen you need to apply well and more often. Um, Very important part. So a 4 will still absorb for 70% of UVB. So there's not a lot of difference when it comes to different numbers. However, a higher SPF equates to a higher concentration of chemical ingredients. So that does not always mean it's better for you to use a higher SPF. I'm more of the person if you will apply a sunblock or a 50 and you do it bad and not good and you have a phototype 1, I rather have you reapplying a SPF 10 and apply it really well than you would apply a sunblock or a 50. As a 50 or higher, or like a higher number, has way more chemical ingredients in there as well that can maybe potential harm you even more. So what do we do then? If I told you as well that SPF is only measured to UVB. So what do? We go actually for sunscreen that mentions broad spectrum. So that means protection against UVB and UVA. So this is very important. If you really want to have that something that not only prevents you from burning, but as well from aging, then you want to look at broad spectrum protection. And this can look into the Japanese measuring system as in PA plus, PA plus plus, as it means protection grade of UVA. So, for example, I took a ingredient here, or this is a cream that obviously has broad spectrum on it. This means it's protected against UVA and UVB, but as well it mentions that it's an SPF 15 and as well PA++. So that means moderate UV protection. So the European way to mention that there's UVA protection in there could be a UVA with a circle around. That's the European sign. If you read on your sunscreen broad spectrum or PA plus 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 plus, then you know it's good and will be helpful against skin aging as well, if that's something you're concerned about. So, but to understand sunscreen as well, we need to dive into the ingredients as we have different types of sunscreen. So there's chemical and physical sunscreens and as well hybrids. So what is are the ingredients and how do they work? This is very important to understand and to understand why, when, or what is good for you. So a chemical sunscreen is, will you mainly know as the tubes that you see in the warehouses and the stores, so that white cream that you apply. That is a chemical sunscreen, or is most of the time a chemical sunscreen. Chemical sunscreens work as in absorbing UV rays. So they absorb it, so you apply sunscreen and they will absorb your UV rays, but they will transmute those UV rays, as they will not burn or harm you, but they would transmit this into heat. And this is a very important component in there as well. If there's too much heat in the body, it does not really benefit your skin longevity as your cells, and you don't want to have an inflammation. And inflammation can happen to overexposures of sun, and when it starts to burn out, wants to have the inflammatory response to melanin. But as well, if there's too much heat into the body, it creates oxidative stress, and due to skin longevity, that is not always the best case. However, it always has a benefit. For example, the chemical sunscreen, what is important about this too, it only works after 30 minutes. So when your skin actually absorbed it. So it's very important if you apply a chemical sunscreen that you do it, for example, before you go outside. As you know, you will be outside all day, that you apply it in the morning, eat breakfast or do whatever you want to do, and then go out, as it will be only after 15 to 30 minutes starts to work. The ingredients mainly, if you would look around the bottle, you would see oxybenzone, avobenzoin, so all oxytolate, oxytonate, all these words means it's actually a chemical sunscreen. Physical sunscreen, on the other hand, or mineral sunscreen, maybe in the tone, maybe you've heard more about mineral sunscreens. These are physical sunscreens and they work as a reflection system. So instead of absorbing the sun ray, they will reflect it back. The best thing about this works instant. So you have an instant reflection, and so at the moment you start to apply it, you will have an instant effect. The best thing about this as well is it does not transmute into heat. So when it comes to skin longevity, pro uh, physical sunscreen, as it works instant and as it does not transmute heat into your body, so you get less oxidative stress. Those ingredients are titanium oxide, iron oxide, and zinc oxide. So think about the zinc sticks surfers use, or mineral powders, makeup, and so mineral makeup works as an um, UV protection as well. Hybrid sunscreens, maybe you've ever heard about hybrid sunscreens, are actually a mixture between chemical and physical sunscreens. As well, you need to understand how sunscreen work. Like I said as well, physical sunscreen will reflect, and chemical sunscreen will absorb, and that absorption happens within the body. A very big component, what is in there as well, or how we can help ourselves against sun, is to have defense mechanism in there as well. So that's our vitamins and antioxidants. So when it comes then to skin longevity and sunscreen, what would be the balance? What would be really good? As I said, chemical sunscreen absorb UV rays and convert them into heat. While it prevents us from burning, it reduces the risk and reduces the risk on cancer. It may not support our on our long-term skin health goals due to increased heat can create oxidative stress. So what could our solution be? Our solution in when it comes to our skin health is having a good setup in defense system, and that's with antioxidants. So we want to incorporate antioxidants into the mix. How can that look like? So antioxidants, I see it as a daily defense under the sun. So wherever you are, adding antioxidants in your routine will always neutralize you from free radicals, from the UV and the pollution. So if you pair even antioxidants and a sunscreen, you will get a very good daytime defense duo. A good thing about antioxidant cream or antioxidants, it can work as a après soleil or an after sun as well. Very important is antioxidants will never replace an SPF, but they boost and help your own skin and better to defend itself. So even if we use an external defense mechanism in physical or chemical, we want our own skin to be able to defend as well and to be strong and be able to work against its odds. So that's why we need antioxidants in there as well, as it creates as well a stronger barrier for our own skin. So how could this look like is in the morning, you apply an antioxidant serum and or moisturizer with antioxidants in there, and then you apply a broad spectrum SPF 30, for example. That would work really well, as a broad spectrum would work on UVB, UVA, and a 30 already blocks most of the light. How or what are antioxidants? Antioxidants, to highlight or to give you some examples what it could be, are vitamin C, vitamin E, as well flavonoids. Flavonoids are plant-based antioxidants. And then as well, a very good one is a vitamin B3, or under the name niacinamide. Helps really good with your skin and skin health, and definitely pigmentation. Lycopene, I will talk about more later about it. But that's an antioxidant that will help you to oxidative stress from UV as well. Like I said, we were talking now about that the sun can be harmful and would have not always the best thing when it comes to skin longevity over time. But however, the sun has a lot of beneficial things to it as well, as we create or we absorb vitamin D through sunlight. So the sun is not something to be afraid of, but like everything in life, it requires moderation. A very important part of vitamin D is occurs only when it's exposed to UVB rays. So in a lot of countries, there's no UVB in winter. That's where people need to supplement with vitamin D, as that's really tied to your absorption of vitamin D. A lot of people that always use sunscreen and are covered all the way should be aware about this too, that you need a doses of vitamin D. The best way to get and absorb vitamin D is just to sit outside 5 to 10 minutes a day. And actually, the insides of your arms are in for a lot of people less dark, but just to expose or to have a body part empty and just sit in the sun for 5 to 10 minutes. That will be more than enough to have your daily dose of vitamin D. Like I said, this is only happens when UVB is around, and so for a lot of people in winter, you need your vitamin D, as a deficiency can lead to weak muscles, depression, increase cancer risks, and reduce your bone density. The higher your SPF, the more you block the sentence or the synthesis for some extent. So that's why I'm a huge pro advocate to put on an antioxidant cream, go outside just for 5 to 10 minutes, check, look at the sun, and then come back in, apply your sun protection, and you have your daily dose of sunlight too that your body needs. But from that point on, you're protected. And how can you choose the right sunscreen, as we all have a different skin type or um, skin conditions, I would rather say. So for different skin conditions, there's different textures that are always better. So for oily skins, we mainly want to look at oil-free formulas or gel textures. What would prevent from shining too much or having breakouts. Dry skins, please use a lot of antioxidants, as this will help your shine and moisturize and create better skin health. Sensitive skins opt in for minimal ingredients to reduce irritation, but as well combined with antioxidants. Combination skin use lightweight creams or textures, so to balance as well with the hydration. And for all skins in this, you can do this as well with mineral makeup. There's a lot of good mineral makeup brands that have different for different skin conditions, different requirements. So this could be an option as well, of course. And what does water resistant means? Because a lot of sunscreen have as well water resistance. But to receive that claim, and that actually is something very important to need to know, is to get a water resistance claim. It's a very intense procedure, as it's always tested on human volunteers to sit in a jacuzzi for or to submerge in water for an amount set of time, so like for 40 minutes or 80 minutes. And if the same amount of SPF is on that skin after they tested with a UV light, so underneath you see an example how it looks when you apply sunscreen under a UV light. If the sun protection level is maintained, then it means it's water resistant. So that's always very important to know if you know you're going to exercise or going outside to ski, or know you having some water or some yeah, things that happen during the day, that sometimes water resistant creams are a really good option or choice. And then when it comes to sun defense, we can always eat our food as well that would help. Like I said, we spoke about antioxidants, but our antioxidants, we can get that from food as well. And there's different types of food that really work in our advantage when it comes to sun and sun exposure. Like what is really good against burning or just the antioxidants. This will never take away or replace our daily broad spectrum sunscreen, by the way. But however, pomegranate has a really beneficial protection due to like against our photo damage. So because it's rich in polyphenols and it really helps to neutralize our free radicals from photoprotection. A very good one as well, and this is where lycopene comes from, is tomatoes. So tomatoes are very good natural photoprotectors, thanks to the ingredient lycopene inside of in it. It's a red carotenoid, what is an antioxidant. The absorption, by the way, when it comes to tomatoes is even better when the tomato extract is cooked. So from pasta or sauce, so Italians under you, yes, it's really helpful for sun damage and when you eat them in combination with olive oil. However, papaya, watermelon, and pink grapefruit have that same lycopene as well. So really, you can eat your skincare too. What I always suggest is to combine that, combine your protection outside with the inside, as your skin has two sides as well. Then as well, some other sun savvy tips is you need to know whatever sunscreen you're going to use. You need to know that a lot of sunscreens have you need to reapply them and you need to have a big amount. So it's about the 2 finger rule for face and neck. So 2 full fingers needs to be applied on your full face and neck um, to protect you well. A shot glass, so 30 milliliters, is for your body. So that's a lot of product. And here's where a lot of people tend to under use creams. And that's where I'm then more of a person, I would say, layer your sunscreen. Like you would have your different layers in your window. You not only have one window, you have double glass, triple glass. So maybe let's do that with your sunscreen too. So for example, if you know you're an outdoor person and you go hiking, skiing, you're going to be going to the beach and you have a photo type 1, 2, or 3, I would suggest to apply a chemical sunscreen and on top of that use a mineral sunscreen and then as well protect yourself with clothes that protect like t-shirts from exposure. However, is it just daily amount and you have a daily dose and you're inside? Maybe a mineral sunscreen would be enough for you during the day. So I'm a big, 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 big believer is that layering is the way to go. However, layering different SPF doesn't mean you can multiply the number of the coverage. So even application and reapplying is still the number one to go, as you always can miss spots by just applying it very fast, casual once. You will always miss some spots, so reapplying and layering. So, for example, um, a chemical sunscreen first, and then, for example, some mineral makeup to protect even more is perfect. And as well, put some antioxidant cream under there. And if you're planning to spend a lot of time, like I said, and this is a very interesting one, if you are like, because we spoke already about the foods that would help and boost everything from to protect you against sunlight, there's as well products and ingredients that might enhance the pigmentation process, or I mean, even melasma, so the big pigmentation spots. So that's something a lot of people don't want. So if you're planning to spend a lot of time on the beach or really outside, you might want to lower your intake on cheese, as there's an ingredient in there, as it will help reduce your melasma flare-ups by limiting the building blocks your skin uses to produce excess pigment. So if you're scared and concerned about pigmentation and you're going outside, lowering your cheese intake might help. I hope you guys that this had a lot of benefits. And in my opinion, the best sunscreen is the one you actually wear, is the best tip and advice we can give. And if you see it from a skin longevity point of view, and you don't want to look or age as fast as you might due to certain circumstances, that's the reasons why you should apply sunscreen and not to burn or to get darker or to not get darker instead, but to look it more from the point of view of UVA, and that is always there. So the best advice we can give is use the sunscreen you will actually wear, as that is the best advice. Is it a chemical one? Is it a mineral one? Maybe just start by applying one. I hope this might help and that this give you some information.